job working at McDonald's, making about $800 a month.
When he first came to us, he was very introverted, very, withdrawn. We just wanted to help him get back on his feet. He didn't have a job. He didn't have anything. He just barely had the clothes on his back. After a few months, he cleaned up. He was able to get a job, start, communicating, and it looked like he was making, progress. I mean, he got his driver's license. He got a car. He held a job down. He went to work every day. He had depression. But, and he made a comment a couple times that he wished he was dead when certain things happened in his life. Yeah, he didn't have any guns, but he must have known stuff about them. I think his stepfather knows something about guns, but he seemed to know a lot about it. I'm sick. I'm just sick about the whole thing. I wish that I could have helped him more. I wished I would have seen some more into this where I could have helped prevent some of this. I mean, it's...
Steve had reconciled his relationship with his biological mom and had dinner with her at her ex-husband's, Steve's ex-stepdad's, home while he was in Thailand on vacation. Steve's mom could tell something was wrong with him that night at dinner, though she couldn't exactly place what it was. The next day, the day of the shooting, Steve's mother noticed that her ex-husband's rifle was missing from the closet. She immediately started trying to get a hold of Steve to see if he knew where the missing firearm would be, but it was too late. After having dinner with his mom, Steve went back to the home where he had been staying at. Steve was showing the family a firearm he had acquired. The mother of the family later reported that she remembered seeing the gun and said that it looked like it was way too old to be able to function, so she wasn't worried about what Steve may do with it. Around 1 p.m. on the day of the shooting, Steve called the mother he had been staying with and thanked her for everything she had done for him and that she didn't have to worry about him anymore. Before she could even ask what he was talking about, Steve hung up the phone. He then left a few voicemails for his friends and family and sent a text message to his ex-girlfriend apologizing for breaking up with her. After hanging up the phone with Steve, the mother went into his bedroom to see if she could find some kind of hint as to what Steve was up to. This is when she would find the suicide note left on his bed. She calls Steve's biological mom and alerts her to what she had just found. After speaking with his mom, she called the police department to report the suicide note. The note was 3 pages long and included a note for his friends, one for his family, and the third page including a handwritten will. 3 days after the shooting, the mall reopened while the Von Maur store remained closed. A note was taped to the door of Von Maur stating that they will reopen soon, but didn't leave a date. Omaha Mayor Mike Fahey was at the mall on the day of the reopening and greeted customers and employees returning to the mall. Also on the day of reopening, a Salvation Army van was set up in the morning that gave away coffee and donuts and had grief counselors on hand to help anyone who needed to talk to someone. There was extra security in the area, but the mayor wouldn't give any extra details to what that security was. Steve's biological mom started speaking out and took all responsibility for the crime. She felt that it was her fault that Steve suffered from such mental hardship due to his troubled home life at such an early age.
We have worked with the local officials as well as our retailers, and opening today is obviously not about business. It's about getting our retail family back together. It's about getting Omaha back together.
I think it's certainly part of the process. We are certainly going through a grieving period. There's a lot of open wounds in our community yet, but part of the healing process is getting back to normal. And I think this is certainly one step in the right direction.
We all have the unique ability to help prevent such a catastrophic event from happening. If we keep our eyes and ears open and never hesitate to report when something or someone just doesn't seem right. It is our sincerest wish that there will be no more active or mass shooting stories to tell. We pray that love will prevail over hate.
Too many have died. We should say to ourselves, not one more.
In the meantime, we urge our listeners to stay aware of your surroundings and keep in touch with your loved ones. If you see something, say something. You never know how many lives you'll be saving. Thank you for listening to today's episode of Active Shooter, the podcast. Remember, if you see something, say something. There's no telling how many lives you may be saving.
A huge thank you to Darren Curtis, who composed some of the music used in this episode. Check him out at darrencurtismusic.com. DARRENCURTIS music.com.
Active shooter, reports of an active shooter,
mass casualty incidents.
Make sure to check us out on social media. We have a discussion group on Facebook. Just search for Active Shooter, the podcast discussion group. You can also find us on Instagram at Active the Podcast and Twitter at Podcast Active. For just $1 a month, you can get access to ad-free episodes, early release episodes when available, and a shout-out on the show. Just go to patreon.com/Active the Podcast. Thank you, and be safe.